Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Trustees meeting on Tuesday, September 17th at approximately 6:20 p.m. In order for everyone to hear our discussions, please silence or turn off your cell phones. Would you please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Reno.
Here.
Baker.
Here.
Bell.
Here.
Bertle.
Here.
Duffy.
Here.
Peduncle.
Here.
And Zach.
Here.
Approval of the agenda as published.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes as published, and there's 3 sets. Want to go and do them individually, or you want to do them all together?
A couple comments on the minutes, page 11 of the packet, line 36, Youth Center. It's Erin Frazzoni, E-R-I-N, and Cambria's last name is spelled M-U-E-L-L-E-R.
Okay, Erin Frazzoni and.
Erin,
sorry.
E-R-I-N, and then Cambria's last name is spelled M-U-E-L-L-E-R.
Okay.
Thank you.
On page 6, line 24, item number 3, discussing the recommendation. We need regarding inserted in there.
Okay, so far you've been talking about
The first set of
the
minutes.
first set of minutes, August 20th.
I'll make a
There's
motion.
2 sets.
Okay.
That's why, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve August 20th with the suggested changes.
Second.
Both sets for August 20th? There's 2 sets for
Yep.
August, okay.
And I'll make the second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next one was the special Board of Trustees meeting on Monday, September 9th.
So moved.
Second.
Any changes, additions, deletions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next would be comments and correspondence. Does anybody in the audience care to make a comment about a non-agenda item? Okay. Correspondence. There are a number of items in your packet. Anything to add to any of the correspondence that was received?
The letter from Peggy Fitzgerald, thanking us for the trolley and, yeah.
I have a question for you, Dave, on the Hedin International letter. When there's a case where we've all received a similar letter, does that have to be reflected, or do?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Dave, could I make a quick comment?
Yes, I was going
Okay.
to just do that. yeah.
Okay. I'd just like to thank all the departments for the cards and letters and artwork that were sent to me on my honor flight to Washington DC. It's well appreciated. Also like to call out to the fire department who showed up down there, drove down 2 hours to be there when I landed, and very much appreciated. So, that's all I have.
Thank you,
Thank you.
congratulations.
Yeah?
Awesome. New business. Item number 1, discussion regarding the recommendation of the Plan Commission that the village board deny Dan Murphy's request for a zoning permit which will allow a change of use, i.e. conversion of the designated commercial units which have been assigned addresses of 2361 and 2363 Mill Road to a hotel motel condominium. Consider a motion for action if appropriate. Will tell us about the board
Should
report?
we, there was a letter in our package, should we take a minute to read that? pertaining to this issue from,
That would probably be a good idea.
I've read the letter and I support the plan commission's position.
Okay, so before we start discussion, somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we deny the request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now let's have discussion. Go ahead, Ron.
I've read the letter and I support the plan commission's position.
Any other discussion, questions?
No?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Item number 2, discussion regarding recommendation from the Plan Commission to allow conditional approval of the new development agreement which pertains to amended development plans for parcel numbers 181-42, 30001A, and 3001B, 3001C, 3001E, and 3001F, which property is commonly referred to as the, and it cuts off.
Oh, they're cut off on there?
school
Sorry.
property here, you're
It's
gonna
the old
take over.
school property.
Where are we? The old school property, consider motion for action if appropriate.
You were almost done.
All right.
before Bo goes into his spiel as chair of the Plan Commission, I really don't like this. There are a multitude of blanks that have yet to be filled in, and this property has sat vacant with no development on it for many years. Okay, Mr. Baker said 5. And I feel that now, because there's some movement, that the village needs to readjust its schedule and how we address projects in this village according to their timetable, and I find issue with that. If the board chooses to approve it, for all those blanks to be filled in by the Plan Commission, trusting that the Plan Commission, yes, that's a nice hats off to the Plan Commission that you trust us to do what is right, but it's still not the process.
I'm a little confused. Then why did the Plan Commission recommend it up to the board for approval?
We didn't.
They made a motion that the preliminary plans be approved.
Preliminary plans
Okay,
And then the development agreement be drafted.
be drafted,
Okay.
but we haven't even, the Plan Commission hasn't even looked at,
Right?
I mean, they haven't even made their final presentation to us.
okay, so I guess I'm confused. Discussion regarding a recommendation from the Plan Commission to allow conditional approval of a new development agreement.
What you read there, on what I read, and I believe, Dave, what you're reading right there in the agenda point is a completely different conveyance than what's in the recommendation in the packet, which essentially lists a litany, sentences
Right.
upon sentences of things that still have to be developed. I share Denise's concern. I don't know why this is an agenda item. I don't believe it needs to be an agenda item, and my recommendation
So
would
then
be,
somebody needs to make a motion to deny
yeah, to send it back to Plan Commission.
the conditional approval.
Yeah. I'll so move that we, as the board, deny it and it go back to Plan Commission.
Do we actually need a denial or just no?
Well,
I'm just asking the question. Or just not addressed?
you could
You
table
could
it.
table it,
Table
that would
it
be your
for,
best
Send
option.
it back to.
I motion that we table it and send it back to Plan Commission and not address it further here at the board level tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So Chad, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay.
That's one way to get through this stack pretty quick.
I know, look at that, we're on page 144.
I already got through all this.
Can you keep up?
It's gonna be last month's meeting all over again.
Okay, so let's go to 144.
Item number 3, discussion regarding requests from citizens to collaborate with officials from the town of Liberty Grove on the scheduling of a spring and fall shredding/recycling day in 2020. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
When, this year, we just had the one in July.
We did.
And previous years, we had them spring and fall. What month, does anybody remember, was it May that we had the spring one in?
It was May and then I think September.
And always September? Okay. I would make that proposal, we go back to May and September. And as somebody who should know what's going on in the village, I didn't even have a poster at my business pertaining to the recycling and shredding day. I had literally forgotten and didn't see anything, any notification that it was even coming up. So maybe we need to be better about that for people who don't have time to read the newspaper or choose not to read the newspaper.
And I had neighbors that had come up to me and said, hey, could you take it to the board that there be a drug turn-in day with the sheriff? They didn't even know. And
Yeah.
I said, I didn't even know that we had one. And when I first mentioned that last year, he said, oh, no, it already happened. So we should incorporate.
And I didn't know that either, and I have a whole
Yeah.
baggie full of,
Yeah.
Hey, shh.
Chad will take care of it later.
that was good, that was good.
So is that a motion?
Sure.
Okay, so who wants to second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Report on county activities from Dave Lino. The county board
What's
is,
that item for?
I'm sorry. Oh,
The
sorry.
census.
Discussion regarding whether there is a need for the creation of a census count committee for the village of Sister Bay. Consider a motion for action if appropriate.
Chanel, do you want to?
Sure. This information that was in the packets was provided to Heidi. She went to a meeting and is recommending that a census count committee be created. Her report is there and it's pretty much self-explanatory.
I've got one thing I don't understand whatsoever in the background on Heidi's report. There's a sentence in there that reads, for reasons unknown, historical data on census participation in Sister Bay and all areas north of Sturgeon Bay is not available. How could it be not available when the newspapers all ran the articles on the average age of each town and each village based on the 2010 census, et cetera, et cetera?
Pat and I were both at this meeting, and I don't know, maybe that came from someplace else, but literally, there is nothing north of Sturgeon Bay in their database or program or whatever to talk about anything in north of Sturgeon Bay.
And I'd have to take a look. That information that was in the newspapers could have been collected through something else, but we saw that the Census Bureau had no information from us. It was a gray.
It was, I mean, the average ages have been quoted, numerous times. It was much talked about at the time that Sister Bay had come out as.
Well,
the
and maybe
average age
they
of
had it
62.
once, and maybe there was an upgrade, and maybe they lost it, or it didn't transfer. I mean, there's probably 100 different things that could have happened to that information.
Okay. How many members are being requested? go on committee. Was that talked about?
But Heidi's not really recommending it. Her recommendation is that we engage in a discussion, whether there is a need to form a complete count committee.
Okay, let me ask my question differently. If we agree that we need a count committee, how many people would we want to put on the count committee? I'm assuming if there's been some discussion about maybe forming one, that maybe there was some discussion as to how many members or what type of members would have to be engaged in that committee.
We didn't have any of that
No,
conversation.
no, and not that I'm opposed to it anyway, but what I take away from the meeting is that Wisconsin and the Midwest region have the highest response rates, that, not that we couldn't do better, you know, you can get to 100%, but he wasn't, you know, even alluding to, I don't think, that we really needed one necessarily, a gentleman from the census. If somebody felt like we do, okay.
So, well, question about this, since the census hires their staff to do this, would we have any role in would they report to us?
Why?
What say
We
we
would-
even have? What do
We would kind of do probably our own outreach,
Uh-huh.
you know, that I think he talked about, that people are more willing to participate and ask questions if it's a face that's familiar to them instead of, you know, a census employee. I kind of remember
Yep.
him alluding something to that, that if there are unreachable people, you know, that you have a better chance of reaching them if they know you.
Or how do we know if they've been reached or not? I mean, that's what I'm trying to understand,
The-
is how.
They provide
how-
some training to the committee if the committee is formed, and they would have a staff member come in and educate us in the committee on how to actually do that outreach and where the information comes from and where they're lacking that type of information from. So they provide that assistance in the training program, if I remember correctly.
My take on this is if we take this on, this is going to be excessively labor intensive. I'm not saying that if everyone thinks it's valid, we shouldn't do it, but if you look at what they're specifically saying this committee would be responsible for, in a community like ours, there would be a lot of legwork. If it serves as a knowledgeable contact point for the regional director in meeting complete counts. It's a group of trusted voices as ambassadors, high-level oversight. I don't know how much exposure you guys have had with this before. Repeatedly, I deal with census people coming in because they need to make sure is somebody actually living in this condo, is this, and then when you deal in with the issue of the retirees and being out of town, if they decide to take the census when things are out of town, anyone who's on this count committee locally, people are gonna routinely be coming in and saying, okay, Joe Smith, do you know, I heard from somebody, Joe Smith lives in Florida, is that true? Do you know where he lives? Do you know anyone in town who knows him? It could be a lot of ongoing work. I'm not saying let's not do it if we think it's valid. I'm just saying, from my experience dealing with these folks already and reading what the expectation is of the people on this committee, it's probably gonna be a lot more labor intensive and less just routine random oversight.
Dave's got one volunteer.
So you
I
want
can-
to, you want to chair the committee?
I can go either way, depending upon, something that I said at that meeting was that we're not a very diverse community. And we don't have a lot of homeless people in our community and other things that other communities might find a challenge of trying to get to count everyone. Will we have 100% turnout? Probably not. But to wrap up maybe, 3 to 5 people in an ongoing thing, I don't know that I deem that worthy.
I agree with Denise, I'm not really for it. I'll go either way if.
I mean, I think we can all do our own part individually.
I think the village can certainly market or advertise.
Right.
Trying to be counted, make sure you participate.
Questions, call us, yeah.
And we should do that, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Or put something in the water bill or something, a lot of those there.
Well,
Not
Those aren't in there.
Well, we already have something else that maybe is going out in the tax bill.
You know,
We
maybe-
could just
Make those
really
envelopes
stuff it
count.
thick, Tasha.
Well, maybe it does become a real newsletter.
Right.
Maybe there's a couple of topic.
Maybe it does
things.
become a real
Yeah.
newsletter,
yeah.
yeah.
So is that our discussion? Kind of the consensus? Item number 5, reporting county activities from County Supervisor Dave Lino. Our meeting is pushed back this month till the end of the month because in September is when Wisconsin Counties Association has their annual fall conference. And all of the county supervisors statewide are invited to go to the conference. And so we go for 3 days. And in that conference, they have multiple concurrent workshops that cover 12 to 15 topics that are of distinct interest for the upcoming year at the state level. And so after we have that meeting and spend those 3 days, and it's working with a lot of the state leaders, it's working with a lot of the department heads at the state, it's working with the Wisconsin Counties Associations as they look at what their lobbying arms are going to do with various subjects. Based on that, they do it just before budgets are submitted, so that counties can come back and work things within their budget yet before they go through the approval process to help kind of direct issues back to the state. It's a way to respond back to the state with what they're looking to do in the budget. So as a result of that, this month's meeting has been put off till the last week of September. So I don't have anything to report from the county board meeting. That would have normally been held today. Okay? Item 6, review of the financial statements, consideration of a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I'll make a motion, we pay the monthly bills for $385,053.70. That's a small one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second.
Discussion, items to be asked of Tasha concerning this?
I called her earlier.
I have nothing.
Anybody else?
I'm good.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Report by the village administrator on village activities and projects.
Does anyone have any questions?
I would just make one kind of comment on your report, which I thought was excellent, overall. As far as the affordable housing piece goes in your report, and the need for affordable housing, the plan is beginning. I would just say, with caution, to watch out for including housing people at your professional level in
Yeah.
the discussion of the way this reads is, affordable housing is necessary if we're going to deal with the high demand for the busy seasons and to attract workforce employees like myself.
Yeah.
While attracting workforce employees like yourself is very important, if the focus of affordable housing was just on attracting people at your salary level,
Yeah.
then the seasonal workers that really need affordable housing
Yeah.
couldn't afford the housing you could afford.
I absolutely agree with
So I would just say, let's, kind of keep in mind that hopefully what that means is the common wage of a seasonal worker
Yeah.
is who we're hopefully talking about housing taken care of.
I can maybe mention something concerning the affordable housing thing that did occur today at the admin meeting. The admin committee did recommend to the county board that we take 5 parcels that were obtained, the county obtained them. There were 5 parcels that are in the city of Sturgeon Bay. We obtained them in rem action for non-payment of taxes. And our land services department with Mariah has worked out a plan with the city of Sturgeon Bay, where basically we're going to start a housing trust. You're familiar with this. We're going to start a housing trust, And those 5 parcels would be given to the Housing Trust to build affordable housing. They're going to work with a group out of Green Bay, and the idea is, for instance, on a parcel, it's zoned multifamily and residential. One of the examples that she used was, of course, the land would always remain in the trust, but they were going to incorporate kind of a unique idea, something a little bit different. It's been done on a couple of properties in Green Bay, and that's why they want to work with this group out of Brown County. Let's say on a parcel that's zoned multifamily, they put a 5-unit condominium in place, okay? That 2 of those units could be sold at market price. So if somebody wanted to purchase them, they would purchase at market price, they would use that then to reduce the cost of construction to provide the other 3
Yeah.
at a workforce housing
Yeah.
level.
Yeah,
Okay?
that's a good idea.
And so that was one of the things they're going to try and do. So they're going to try and do that as an example of trying to use these 5 parcels to do that.
Yeah, well, that would be a good research tool to look into.
Right, right. And so that was something that was brought up today. We agreed to send it on to the county board for their review and approval, but that's something that the city is looking to do with the county
Yeah,
with some vacant parcels that were obtained
yeah.
for just the cost of taxes. So we'll see where that goes. But I mean, there is a lot of discussion going on with the whole affordable housing issue.
Yeah.
Are those properties all in Sturgis?
They are actually all in the same subdivision.
Okay,
There's one subdivision up near Cherry School, up Cherry Road,
okay.
where there was a subdivision in there. It's about half built out, but these 5 parcels, 3 of them are actually to get connected together. 2 are immediately across the street, connected together. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was developed or what, I didn't get into why they became available. They were obtained for non-payment of taxes over a 3-year period of time by the county. And then Mariah has been heavily involved in the workforce housing study and trying to do housing trust and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And so she brought this forward, working with the city and with this group out of Green Bay to see if this was one potential
Yeah, and I could
avenue
reach
to go
out,
down.
I could reach out to Josh over
Yes.
in Sturgeon Bay and get more information on that.
Well,
That's a
I
good
also
idea.
think when they did the presentation at the Village Hall, I think that was before Bo.
Yes.
So I think he should probably contact somebody to watch that presentation.
Okay.
And also know that there is a local land trust now that is up
Housing
here.
trust.
Housing trust.
Housing trust,
Excuse
right.
me.
Okay, okay.
That as we talk about this more in our spare time,
Mariah would be the person to contact.
Okay.
She was the one that spearheaded the
Dave, this housing
presentation.
trust, this isn't, Sturgeon Bay's not setting up their own, right? This is still the same one?
I believe so,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Right.
Good.
But they're using the Brown County
Yeah,
group
which is-
that's
which is
put it in
good.
place down there.
I just hope it doesn't get fragmented, because it could be a
Yeah,
resource for us
yeah.
all, rather than us all
Right.
trying to do our own.
Right.
Okay, good.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions or comments about his report? If not, we will move to committee reports. Admin has not met. Admin and comp oversight has not met. Common technology has not met. Coastal byways.
Coastal Byways will be meeting, we met since the last board meeting, we'll have another meeting in a little while. The U.S. Senate unanimously passed the Reviving America Scenic Byways Act, and it went through the House first. This is something that the leaders on the Coastal Byway Committee have been actively monitoring and hoping for some time. It's been a number of years since there's been monies set aside in an act like this. When it's done, it's not done across the board to states based on population or financial. It's done on, do you have scenic byways or not? And the last time it happened, Wisconsin had over $40 million of grants that they could apply for, identifying. So it literally could mean that there would be, significant money Door County or a village could apply for. So the process that we will probably find out about more and be ready to be letting Bo know about and everyone else is, when it gets to that stage, then there'll be a concerted campaign with all the villages, banding together and seeing how much, what kind of a proposal we can draft to try and get that, some of those grants.
Okay, great. DCECD.
It's fundraising time. It's in the 3-year cycle, So they did training this month and got to go talk to people throughout the community and try and get them to give more money to DCDC. And they also included the DCVB membership list and included that. So there's a bit more reach this 3-year cycle than last.
Good.
Yeah.
Economic development has not met. Finance has been meeting, will continue to meet, it's budget time. We just finished one. Fire,
In the handout today, there are the minutes of the June 19th meeting. If anybody read through, have any questions? Those in finance can see what that truck is looking at now, 750 to 800,000. We'll hope for the best.
Fire District Exploratory.
Has not met.
Historical Society.
In the packet are the curator's report and the minutes of the August 1st meeting. If anybody has any questions?
Holiday Lighting has not met. Library.
2020 annual budget was passed. I gave a copy of it to Tasha. And on a sad note, we just notified Virginia Phelan, the committee chair, passed away.
She did. I saw the ambulance in front of the house and I was wondering.
We don't have any other details at this time.
Marina Fest.
Marina had a meeting and went through budget for next year and minutes in the packet if anybody's got any questions.
Going back to library, do we need to address something with the hours of the library? Did you want to address that during the?
Oh, during the committee, yes.
Oh, yeah.
We've been asked by the library to fund additional dollars in the budget for Thursday hours,
10 to 2.
10 to 2. And the finance committee agreed to sponsor that up to the board. And we were going to handle it during the minute portion so we can discuss library issues. So it was, what was the dollar amount?
It was $3,000. They're requesting a $5,000 increase next year. $2,000 would cover additional expenditure expenses that they have, that they've been covering with reserve funds up till now. The additional $3,000 would cover additional hours for Thursdays. And those Thursdays, the reason we're kind of bringing this tonight is he would like some kind of confirmation from the village board that we are willing to support this idea so that they can begin those hours this October. They would cover October through December with their reserve funds, and then our budget support would start in 2020.
Right.
So
And
one
it needs to be,
question.
it needs to be locked in, then Tina would then put it in the county budget.
Right.
So the 3,000, is that the village's share or that's the?
That's the village's share.
Okay.
And the town has an equivalent share.
Yeah.
So the library would be open on Thursdays?
Thursdays from 10 to 2.
Okay.
So we need a motion.
We do need a motion.
Someone like to make that motion?
A motion that we authorize the funds as noted.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So
Carried.
that, how do you need that worded, Tasha?
We'll work on it tomorrow.
Okay.
Parks, there was a report in there. Personnel. There's also a report enough for that. Any questions on the personnel? Plan Commission, troublemakers, Plan Commission. Questions? SBAA.
We have what's been deemed an emergency meeting tomorrow morning related to the lease and location situation. The rent that we have been paying was $850 a month. Dave Castor and a partner of his bought the property, notified SBA that they would be increasing the rent to $1,200 a month at the last regular SBAA meeting, we decided to let some senior members of SBAA negotiate further towards what they felt was the highest that they could go, which they did, to which Dave Castor cut them off and said it's 1,200, that's all it's going to be, and so we'll see where that goes tomorrow.
Dave, do we want to talk about anything else?
I don't know. I'm thinking of 3 different subjects that come to mind, so. Talking about Fall Fest?
No?
No. Oh, that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah,
Help them out.
help me out.
We can't read the lines.
The lines?
That's what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. I don't know that we should address
I
that.
don't think we need to discuss that right now.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
I think it's
Well,
being,
Just scratch that.
I think it's being handled appropriately.
Well, now somehow I have to send you the other information that,
I'd like the record to indicate that something I didn't think should be brought up was supported by Dave and Paul.
that's good.
Tourism zone.
Has not been in.
Utilities.
August 13th minutes are in the packet for both the storm sewer and wastewater treatment plant. Any questions?
Do we want to talk about that?
We could.
Okay.
What would you like to talk about? It's in the sewer and water plant.
Look what we talked about in there.
Okay?
Dave?
Talked a lot of different
Yes,
stuff.
go ahead.
Oh, okay. Mike Skell received notice from Dave Alberts, and he gave his 2-week notice out at the plant. And he is going to be going to Fish Creek to run their plant, along with Patrick Johnson, who he lost a few years ago. So staff, we talked about it in Personnel and Finance earlier. Staff is going to be compiling an ad. We are going to be advertising for a lead operator.
And we agreed, Finance and Personnel agreed to authorize staff, Tasha and Bo, to go ahead and put the ad together and get it out and get it marketed to try and get somebody in as soon as
Yeah,
possible.
we want to get this moving pretty quickly.
So it wasn't something we wanted to wait till next budget
Yeah.
year. We wanted to get it
Yeah.
going quickly. Okay? Youth Center
Has not been.
has not,
Ice rink? Weren't we gonna start listing ice rink on here, Dave?
we were going to, I don't see it there.
Would you like
Up
me
to this
fill
point,
you in on ice rink?
up to this point in time, it's been a subcommittee of parks, and it should be in the Parks Minute, what we agreed to do.
Yeah, but they're
We got
having
the
their own
report.
meetings.
We've been having meetings.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
So
and,
do you want me to update you like I did last month?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So there's a ice rink kickoff party. It's going to be held November 16th. And that's going to be from 4 to 8 p.m. On the grounds over there. That's going to include a bonfire and some music, and at Janelle's very insightful suggestion that was well embraced, a big buck 50-50 type of a raffle. Hoping, Chad, there can be something in partnership with yours that.
Yeah, I like the gamble.
That, you know, it'd be a 2-for-1.
Where did we get this guy?
Selling tickets, or are you asking for something else?
In case we don't see James for a while, making sure we can tell him we support
We'll
it.
do anything we can.
And then, so that's on the docket. The other thing that we've discussed this morning of note is that with all the focus, including this, and then ongoing improvements and trying to get the rink back in order, and considering the fact that to my knowledge, as the board member present at the time, that we still were interested in promoting and developing our holiday lighting. If we could consider getting some holiday lighting around that area to try and further draw people to it and to make it a more appealing area.
Festive?
That too, yeah. So we'll ride that up to Parks
Okay.
on the appropriately festive chariot.
Maybe that'd be a better place for that waving Santa. It's out on 57.
Yeah.
Definitely should go there.
Strongly disagree.
You couldn't leave more alone.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add in the committee or committee reports? Discussion regarding matters, sorry.
I'd like to talk about the Emergency Management Committee temporarily. I mentioned to Chad, now that the season is winding down or whatever, maybe we can start meeting, and so you want to wait till...
Which days, when do you want to meet? Did we talk about
Does
this?
Mondays still work good for you, Monday afternoons?
I can do Monday afternoons, yeah.
Okay, okay. So, and you want to wait till after Fall Fest, so
Well, I don't want to
November.
do it the week after Fall Fest, the week before Fall Fest.
Okay.
So as long as you can not have it.
Okay. I'll talk to Chris Heck then
Yeah.
and see what Dan? Is it Dan?
Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of works for them
I
and...
can make that work.
Okay, I'll be in touch with you. Did you want to talk about any new committee you're toying with?
Which one? I have to talk about three.
A lot of prompting from this side of the, the U here tonight.
Read my mind, Dave, read my mind.
I did drive to Chicago at 2 o'clock this morning, dropped 3 girls off and drove back, so. Oh.
You seem surprised.
That
No.
wasn't one of the three.
It
Great, now there's 4!
It wasn't. As you are aware, we've been having some discussions as to what we want to do with the village hall. And we've met a couple of times. We have some preliminary drawings, some preliminary information. Part of this came from Marina asking for some bathrooms to be located down near the existing boathouse. We're also talking about doing something with the bathrooms at Village Hall to accommodate the beach traffic also. That has morphed into a discussion as to what should we do with the Village Hall just in general. And based on our last discussion that we had with Henry Isaacson, the architect, who's looking at some preliminary planning drawings for us, Denise and I, once we looked at that, decided that maybe we should have a committee formed of relevant stakeholders in the village to take a look at and discuss what we want to do longer term with the Village Hall. We've talked about things like opening up the back and having a deck outside, bathrooms underneath, more of a community center that could be used more frequently. It's used very infrequently. In addition to that, if you take a look at the high water issues that other buildings are having within the village, at the moment, we're having the same problem in the Village Hall. And could we do something to alleviate that in the future where it just became a non-issue and we can in fact use the lower level much more frequently and better than it's currently being used? So we're asking, should we form a committee to get people to do that? And looking for a consensus. Denise and I...
Can I follow up on that a
Sure,
little
please,
bit?
yeah.
My biggest concern or obstacle that I see the village having as meeting with Henry and talking about what to do, and he has come up with a fabulous plan that addresses all of the issues. But I think we have to start at square one and have the conversation about, is this the right place for the Village Hall? Is, if we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, are you all right?
Sure.
Okay.
That's what it's starting there. Starting there.
Just a little flutter.
That means millions.
I know.
But we'll only take out a $2 million loan to get
Hey,
the
it's just a
million.
decimal point you're talking about.
Right.
Pretty soon, I'm not gonna be the one leading the charge. Tasha's already shut Marina down, so I'll just let her do it. I can be quiet here.
Is that the best place for it? Do we, how much sentimental attachment is there? There is no parking there. It's going to cost a lot to renovate if we want to keep it in the same style, and match all of that stonework. So my biggest concern is that the place that it's supposed to be? And is that where we want it to be? And so then Dave was talking about this committee having that bigger conversation, and if that's determined, then how we move on from there. Not that we can afford anything in the near future, but it will take a lot of conversation and a lot of planning, whatever is decided.
And is this an ad hoc committee rolling up to plan commission, or?
Not plan commission, no.
It would just be an ad hoc committee to determine what or if we should
Who would it
do.
report to?
Probably initially Parks Property and Street.
Right, I think it makes sense. Water oversight was a relative success and
Right.
that helped
Huge
a lot.
success.
Right.
You know, the more I'm on these committees, the more you realize the limitations of how much of that stuff you can get done
Right.
within these committees.
Exactly.
So if there's other, whether it be a handful of board members and community members that want to get involved, that'd be great.
And I think back to when we did some of the master plan for the village, the waterfront master plan, we didn't really talk much about the village hall. And yet it's right in the middle of the entire waterfront. And I think we all decided then that was something to be taken care of later on. Well, later on is probably now, at least to start planning for it. And it could be a long-range plan for what we want to do with it. But we want to start the conversation. All right, if there's a consensus to do that next month, I will come up with a committee plan. Okay?
I think so, it's good.
I agree. Thanks for the idea.
Okay, anything else I'm missing? Forgotten?
Nope, it's for closed session.
Okay, perfect. Any discussion regarding matters to place a future agenda referred to committee official or employee before we go into closed? Okay. If not, consider a motion to convene an executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851G to confer with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. Wisconsin statutes 19.851E to deliberate or negotiate the purchase of public properties, the investment of public funds, or conduct other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session in Wisconsin statutes 19.851C to discuss personnel employee benefits. Motion by Lino.
Second?
Roll call. Lino, yes?
Berto, yes?
Duffy, yes?
Yes.
Conklin, yes.
Zashki, yes.
Baker, yes?
Okay, we're now in closed session. We'll take a 5-minute recess.